Welcome to Season 2 of True and Scary. New true and scary stories from around the world. With your host Joseph. Our feature subject this season will be serial killers. Hang tight. After this short break we will kick off this exciting new season. True and Scary.
You are listening to True and Scary. Your host is Joseph. Tune in each week where we feature your true and scary stories from around the world.
The fascination with serial killers can be a complex topic and varies from person to person. There are several reasons why some Americans may be intrigued by serial killers. 1. True crime genre. True crime stories, including those about serial killers, have gained substantial popularity in recent years. Books, documentaries, podcasts, and TV shows dedicated to exploring these cases have attracted a significant audience. People are drawn to the suspense, mystery, and psychological aspects of these stories. 2. Morbid curiosity. Humans have a natural curiosity about dark and disturbing subjects. Serial killers are often seen as aberrations of society, and people might be curious to understand their motives, psychology, and the events that led to their crimes. 3. Psychology and human behavior. Serial killers present a challenging subject for psychologists, criminologists, and behavioral analysts. The study of these individuals can provide insights into the complexities of human behavior, mental disorders, and the factors that contribute to criminal behavior. 4. Media portrayal. Serial killers have been featured in popular culture for decades, providing a fictionalized representation of their stories. Books like American Psycho, and movies like The Silence of the Lambs, have achieved great success, further increasing the interest in this topic. 5. Personal safety and awareness. Learning about serial killers can also fulfill a more practical purpose. Some people may have a desire to understand the methods and patterns of these criminals to protect themselves and their loved ones. However, it's important to note that not all Americans are fascinated by serial killers, and different individuals may have their own unique reasons for finding this subject intriguing.
Welcome back to another episode of True and Scary. I am your host, Joseph. The early years of Ted Bundy, one of America's most notorious serial killers, are marked by a seemingly normal childhood. Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, to Eleanor Louise Cowell, who was unmarried at the time. This is how we're starting off this episode of True and Scary. This season, Season 2 of True and Scary, we're featuring the topic serial killers. And we started off this season about Ted Bundy. This is our conclusion. So, we're going to run to a commercial break. We will be right back to True and Scary. Hang in there. Got some great, interesting facts coming up for you right after this on True and Scary.
You are listening to True and Scary. Your host is Joseph. Tune in each week where we feature your true and scary stories from around the world.
Welcome back to True and Scary. I'm your host, Joseph. We are delving into the mind of serial killer Ted Bundy. This is the early years. Bundy's true paternity remains unknown, as his mother initially listed a salesman named Lloyd Marshall as his father. However, it is widely believed that Eleanor's abusive and eccentric father, Samuel Cowell, might have been Bundy's biological father. Bundy grew up believing that his mother was his sister and was raised by his grandparents. In Bundy's early years, his family moved to Tacoma, Washington, where he began to show troubling behavior. As a child, he had an obsession with knives and would indulge in voyeuristic activities, spying on women in their homes. This voyeurism eventually led to his first attempts at breaking into houses and stealing women's underwear. Despite his troubling behaviors, Bundy was described by those who knew him as charming, intelligent, and a good student. He was active in his school's football team, made friends easily, and even had a girlfriend in high school. In 1965, Bundy graduated from high school and attended the University of Puget Sound, where he excelled academically. However, his fascination with violence escalated during this time. He began stalking women and would sometimes even sneak into their rooms while they were asleep. These early signs of criminal behavior were just the beginning of Bundy's dark path. In 1971, Bundy shifted his focus to law and enrolled at the University of Utah Law School. It was during this period that the killings began. Bundy's first known victim was a young woman named Karen Sparks, whom he abducted, raped, and murdered on January 4, 1974. Coming up later in this conversation of our interview and our podcast, we have a list of the victims and when he committed these crimes. Over the next few years, Bundy's killing spree escalated, with him targeting young women, most of whom bore a striking resemblance to his first girlfriend. His modus operandi involved luring his victims into his car under the pretense of needing help, then incapacitating them and taking them to secluded areas where he would sexually assault and murder them. The early years of Bundy's life provide little insight into the dark path he would later take. Despite exhibiting concerning behaviors from a young age, he managed to charm those around him and maintain a facade of normalcy. However, these early signs of violent tendencies eventually grew into a full-blown serial killing spree that would make Ted Bundy one of the most infamous criminals in American history. I'm your host, Joseph, and we will return right after this commercial break here on True and Scary.
You have found season 2 of True and Scary. This season is about serial killers. We found some interesting, some scary, and some strange stories for you about some notorious serial killers of our time. Your host is Joseph. This is True and Scary.
Welcome to Season 2 of True and Scary. New true and scary stories from around the world. With your host Joseph. Our feature subject this season will be serial killers. Hang tight. After this short break, we will kick off this exciting new season. True and Scary.
True and Scary. With your host Joseph. Serial killers is our featured topic this season. Thank you for being with us. True and Scary.